I was on a live over the weekend and I was asked how I felt about Biden and their rule change to Title IX. And I didn't know that the Biden administration had made any changes to Title IX, so I didn't have an opinion. But I've now read an article, and so we're going to talk about it. I'm going to skip to the end of this USA Today article. Who is impacted by the changes to Title IX? The rule changes have a wide range of effects on students. Among the most notable examples, SA survivors. The new rules will have sweeping effects on survivors of sexual misconduct and those accused of crimes. Among the changes, the definition of SA will be expanded in K through 12 schools and colleges. LGBTQ students, Biden's Title IX update stipulates protection from sex discrimination based on gender identity for the first time. Pregnant and parenting students, the new regulations extend the definition of sex-based harassment to include pregnant people on campuses. So now I'm going to go back up to the top of the article. Students and school employees across America will be impacted in the fall by new changes to a rule that affects all federally funded schools. Practically, it's a sweeping update to how schools will have to handle sex discrimination and abuse cases. Politically, it's a part of a power struggle between the Trump and Biden administrations. What's new? The Biden administration released a new set of rules this week, overhauling the Trump administration's Title IX rules, which gave more rights to alleged perps of SA and harassment. The new rules also stipulate further protections for LGBTQ students, as well as parenting and pregnant students. What is Title IX? Title IX is a civil rights law that bans sex discrimination against students, employees, and others at public schools, colleges, and universities that receive federal funding. So it sounds like the Biden administration is undoing some of the things that Trump did. What were some of the old rules? For cases of SA, they stipulated that schools only had to investigate claims that met a certain threshold of sex discrimination and were made through a formal reporting process. It also raised the bar of proof for sexual misconduct on college campuses. They prohibited investigations of cases that occurred off campus. Why does the change matter? Critics argued that Trump era rules prevented people accused of sexual harassment, assault, or discrimination from facing repercussions. Supporters contended the rules rightly strengthened due process protections for accused students or faculty members. So they were trying to make sure that the perps got the most protection. That's what it sounds like to me. And coming from Trump, I can understand why. I can understand why, because Trump has been in his own lots and lots and lots, many legal issues dealing with SA. Biden's new Title IX rules will affect people on the nation's school campuses starting in August. What happened this week? The Biden administration's new set of guidance overhauls Trump era rules that, in part, narrowed which and how schools could investigate sex discrimination cases. President Joe Biden, in his 2020 presidential campaign, vowed to overturn the changes made under Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. The new rules expand the definition of SA and harassment. That means schools could investigate more cases of discrimination, abuse, or harassment filed by people on school campuses under the scope of the law. College student survivors will no longer be required to attend live hearings or go through cross examinations, and people will be given the right to prompt and equitable grievances procedures, the rule reads. LGBTQ students will be guaranteed protection under the law if they are discriminated against for their gender identity or sexual orientation. Pregnant and parenting students who might receive unwanted sexual attention, shame, or punishment at schools will also be granted more protection from sex discrimination in the admissions process and on campus. These final regulations build on the legacy of Title IX by clarifying that all of our nation's students can access schools that are safe, welcoming, and respect their rights, said U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona. Here is the picture that was embedded in this article. I need a new Title IX because that's what it says. So I already showed this slide basically outlining who all was impacted. And what I'm seeing so far, I don't particularly have an issue with. When they were debating it on the live that I was on earlier, they were making it like um, Joe Biden was about to allow so much in talking about trans people. However, the trans people conversation is still unsettled. This part says ruling on transgender student participation in sports remains unsettled. The Biden administration did not rule on whether transgender and non binary students can participate on the sports team that align with their gender. The administration released a proposed rule in April 2023 that said schools and colleges largely could not ban non binary and transgender students from sports teams in the new Title IX rules, but it does not sound like those rules have been implemented just yet. I don't have an issue with these bullet points. I do believe that SA survivors should totally be extended to include schools up and down the spectrum, because let's not act like students in high school and middle school aren't being bullied or actually harassed or SA'd. So this will this is putting a lot of people on notice, and the stories that come out of schools, high schools, middle schools, are just as tragic as what happens when you get up into college. So I have no issues with these changes. I have no issues with them giving protections to the LGBTQ community. I have no issue with that. That is in alignment with who the Dems are. The Dems are a party that is not just for straight folks. So I completely understand, and they people should not be discriminated against because of being an LGBTQ student. All students should have the opportunity to go to school and be safe. Parenting and pregnant students absolutely love this, because who really needs to be pushed out of school that's parenting or pregnant? They need to be able to get their education so they can have more opportunities to work. I have no issues with any of these changes, and I don't know who would have an issue with these changes if they had the correct information. A lot of the times, what people do, they hear something and they don't go back and read it for themselves. So, what I'm seeing as far as these changes, it just seems that they are fixing what the Trump administration did that was more pro perp versus pro victim, and more just creating a balance or fixing or righting the wrongs of the Trump administration. Y'all can weigh in now that you've seen what the changes are. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.